Marathon. The game was shown recently and it's funny to look at response towards the game from general audience. The game is being positioned as extraction shooter and response towards it seems similar to the one that was with Battle Royales back in the day. Like again, and another one is the summary of general public's response to the game. But as I see it, general public knows the genre based on some Battlefield Hazard Zone, but that's not what it is. Irony of what was happening is the fact that Sony, after buying Bungie Studio for millions of euro dollars, were not expecting to receive Extracxtion shooter, same as they were not expecting to see Destiny dying, revenue going down up to 45%, same as lots of workers who left Bungie. But I am not sorry for Bungie, since they were bought to improve Sony's online services, and they were exactly the people who told to cancel online project based on The Last of Us for a remastered version of the game, but Concord, the game that lasted less than a month and was the greatest failure in gaming industry from AAA studios in 2010 I think, that's a good thing. Around the same time, news came that Escape from Tarkov players were invited to test the game, and as the rumor stated, they were not happy at all. Developers saw extraction shooters as the new Battle Royale genre. That's the reason both Battlefield and Call of Duty came with this specific game mode in their projects. But then understanding came that in order this extraction shooter to be decent with normal economy and qualitative gameplay, you need to dedicate a specific team for it, and essentially you need to make a game inside a game, and nobody wanted it. Battle Royale is pretty easy to do. You need a big map for 100 players, randomizer for zone and how it will be shrinking, and very random loot spawn. For extraction shooter, you need much more loot, separate system of loot deposition on the map, for loot to have value in order player wanted to get it, for the players to be interested in fighting other players, you need balanced spawn points, you need player to feel in the progression even if he is dying several times in a row, you need to create economy so well that the player can understand it and so loot would have some value, so the player would go to some specific points of the location to find these objects. And of course, core of these types of games, well-written quests. So player would go to the specific point on the map in order to get the objective equipment and return safely. High risk, high reward option is working here, since your inventory will stay with your body if you die, so you will be left with nothing in case of your death. Ask Escape from Tarkov players who understand the core of the game why he is playing. And that will be for the moment when you extract with a lot of loot after many deaths in a row, something like that. That's why there is so little decent extraction shooters. Some games are missing one or several points, which I've mentioned earlier. For example, economy. For extraction shooter, you need to create perfect balance between pain from losing everything and joy from winning. So players would return even after they have lost again and again. These type of games need to create unique scenarios when survival and successful extraction would not be a normal thing. And now let's talk about Marathon. I've watched presentations, some YouTube videos of people who played this game, and summarizing everything, I am skeptic right now about this project. That's not hating the game, but not hyping the game either. Skepticism is more like cautious optimism. As soon as developers told that we will have characters, like classes in the game, same as in Call of Duty, Assault Medic, Sniper and so on, in this game I got flashbacks from Concord, and I doubt that was the idea from developer's perspective. On release of the game there will be available only 3 maps, which is too little. After starting the game, players will try to loot, fight PvE enemies, and sometimes will meet other players and interact with them through PvP battle at the time. The goal is simple: enter, find items of value, extract. PvE part of the game includes not only fighting NPCs, which are pretty capable, but also completing different quests during raid. It is possible to go through the raid without meeting enemy's team, since there are only 18 players on one big map. People that I've listened to told that Bungie are more than capable of doing shooter and shooting part of the game is on a decent level. Nice shooting impact, fun fighting with others, fighting is dynamic. Some have noticed reused assets from Destiny game like PvE enemies behavior, different animations and so on, but that's nothing new when the same studio is doing both of these projects. PvE enemies interaction is being described as difficult, which is a good thing, good AI for bots, enemies are moving and not tanking player, For now, it's planned that at the beginning of the raid 18 players are spawned, depending on the map of course, so essentially 6 parties of 3 players in each. Sure, you can do solo or duo, but the game in terms of AI, health points and damage points is meant for 3 players party. When developers were asked why they do not have created solo regime in the game, the answer was because in that case everyone is going stealth and player interaction are limited to pretty random and minimal. Match length is 25 minutes and how you are going to spend it is totally up to you. The thing which has caught my eye ever since trailer in 2023, visual style. Simple, bright colors, nice simple design, which meant to reduce requirements from hardware, but the problem that I've noticed during gameplay, everything was covered with this blue fog, due to which the game looked like it's totally blue, and behind this blue filter, bright colors and interesting ideas in design were partially lost. The game is being located on the planet where abandoned colony and stadium called Marathon is located, and the players are going to the raid to get anything of value before some evil corporation got to it first. Looting in game is very simple, you're being shown the price at once and the color scheme shows you which items are more valuable as well. Developers state that they want to do more approachable extraction shooter, which means they are casualizing some mechanics, like the game economics, for example. As mentioned before, showing the price at once makes entering the game easier than the same Tarkov, where when seeing a pack of cigarettes you do not know if that item is worth anything. Also, when hearing approachable extraction shooter, question about longevity of this project appears. Another factor is, for example, the quote from developers, "Your fight is never ending," which means if you were killed, then finished, you could be resurrected by your teammate if he is located near your back in a couple of seconds. Same economy pricing shown near the item, and if you are lazy, everything is color coordinated. You see gray item, you leave it, violet, you take it. And even in case if you were dying a lot, company which gives you quests will sponsor you by giving you basic weapons, ammo, so the game is easier to play for an average person. The game is going to be played based on seasons, 3 months each, and at the beginning of the season, wipe will happen, similarly to the wipe in Escape from Tarkov. So all of your fancy weapons will be wiped and everyone will begin on the same level. So the question is whether Bungie Studio fans who were playing Destiny before, who do not want to get rid of their inventory from 6 years ago, would play the game where everything you achieve you 100% lose in 3 months' time. Stimulation to play will be skins and battle passes containing skins as well. Skins are promised to keep in-game style, not like Call of Duty, but looking at Marathon's visual style, the limit bar is set pretty low. Also, 6 types of characters, skins for each character specifically, so monetization question has already been solved. Also, promised ranking matches, no idea how they are planning on realizing it in Extracxtion shooter, but okay. Different events and plot development throughout the seasons. Well, everything sounds interesting, but another interesting aspect, beta testing is happening in April, but only in Northern America. Release 23rd of September 2025. Returning to Causalisation. Causalisation in Extracxtion shooter sounds like a thing that will kill the game even before it will be born. Thousands of items, gradual game research is what is most interesting in Extracxtion shooter. So by doing game for everyone, they risk to do it for no one and repeat Concord's fate only a year later. Complexity is what is the most interesting in this game. Absence of map, absence of clear tasks, complexity in amount of in-game items. As I see it, Marathon will be too casual for hardcore players and too hardcore for casual, leaving the game with the same fate as its predecessors. One of examples of potential Marathon's fate, the Cycle Frontier. Many YouTubers were hyping it for removing all of the clutter that Tarkov had. Everything was plain and simple, and the game had died in a month. Something tells me that Bungie Studio fanbase will leave the game as soon as they will see wipe happening after 3 months of grinding in the game. Game director of Marathon in one of the interviews is stating that the goal of the game is to bring Extracxtion shooters genre to mass audience, because the genre itself generates lots of unique situations. But there is a little but. Bungie are stating that the game will provide social experience without having any space outside raids for players to socialize with someone outside of your team, and also one of the factors, they have removed proximity chat, proximity voice chat. And the reasoning? Toxicity. Toxicity. In a multiplayer shooter where you are running and killing people. Proximity chat is important for generating these unique scenarios. When you're cooperating with randoms or talking through in order to not engage in a fight, just take some items and leave, or when diplomacy fails and you got lied or other way around, that is what is really important for Extracxtion shooter. And making situations funnier is the fact that this thesis is telling us Bungie Studio, which created Halo with the same proximity chat, which players used in order to find the same friends, for example, create unique in-game scenarios and so on. That's in-game social experience. Now they are wanting sterile gaming space, but they decided to create Extracxtion shooter, where it is not mandatory to fight at all to, let's say, win, just loot and leave, so proximity chat here is as a necessity. This situation reminds me of Battlefield 2042, where they have removed kill dead rating and voice chat for your team, naming it legacy features, in order to reduce so-called toxicity. I would get the argumentation of we want hardcore PvP so players do not unite, but then literally they have it in a trailer, moment when a guy decides not to shoot another player. But enough with that. There will be builds available for each character, meaning that there will be some sort of character spec customization. Everything here depends on heat. Too many specs and your character will overheat, so let's say you are putting maximal sprinting capability, so you'll have to leave aside armor or backpack capacity. You'll be able to get triple jump instead of double or to have more armor. Alongside in-game progression, more powerful argumentations will be available to customize specs for everyone to have the character they want. People who were able to play the game described it as being pretty similar to Apex Legends. Characters feel different from one another, tank, medic, sniper, and so on. Camping here is more than legal. You can open some door, put the mines on the ground, close the door and wait until some loot literally comes to you. For stealth, stereotypical air shafts will be available, and as usual, win is getting achieved by team's communication and diversity of team's skill with adequate usage of these skills. And that is what I want to try. Essentially, build complexity and diversity of fighting options should make people continue playing the game, since content is not the game's strongest part. 3 maps, 6 characters, and $40 at the release. Many people really like visual style of the game, with some of them thinking that the style was wasted to multiplayer shooter while not making this story-rich game. As developers describe the plot of their game, they have main ideas, but plot will be developed gradually and through notes, meaning you'll take the lore based on some notes you found during grades and what you read on Wikipedia, fan theories mostly. Others who have watched some trailers do not like the bright stylistics of the game and think that the brand of Marathon is being used just to boost sales based on people playing franchise in 1990s. And yes, they want normal plot as well. The Extracxtion shooter fans finding the simplified version of the game not being the thing that will make people stay for a long period of time. There are also Destiny fans that reasonably suppose Bungie spending less time on Destiny and concentrating mostly on a new project, which doesn't look like MMO shooter. And there's also Grumps, who doesn't like the game already since robots are not as sexy as girls from Marvel Rivals. Many do not like the game because it is paid and $40 is too much for the content they offer. Also, keeping in mind that the game will be available on latest consoles, you'll also need subscription to play the game. Good thing, despite this game being one of the Sony Studios games, it will be available in regions where PlayStation Network is not available. Game is being released also on Xbox, offering crossplay and cross-save. Fun fact, the game is being released in the same day as Borderlands 4, raising questions of success of this game before it has been ever released. Oh no, lots of people want to try it, but the question about longevity of the game still persists. It looks more playable than the same Concord, but will it be absolute success? The time will show. In any case, thank you for joining in. I'll keep my eyes open on the project for you, and I hope to see you here next time.